Hi, Jonathan York, Bay Financial Partners, looking at investment markets. Big news out of the US on the inflation front. The latest reading for May is coming in at 4%. That's the lowest level in 2 years. And that's versus a reading of 4.9 in April. Above the Fed sort of target range of 2%. Also, core inflation seems to be sort of plateauing and still remains reasonably stubbornly high. So what does that do to the Fed sort of thinking? Because obviously, say inflation is coming down, but core inflation still remains relatively high. And it's just going to be interesting now because potentially the S&P has now entered a bull market in the fact that it's up 20% from its October lows. That's still a pretty buoyant sort of US economy. Also, still a relatively tight labour market as well. So on the back of that, rates have sort of nudged up there. The 10-year is back at 383 and the 2-year is back at 469. But as we head into the summer months now, the US economy looks in reasonable shape. It's still a little bit of growth out there. Many sort of forecasts now that technically they will avoid a recession as well in the US. And obviously that sort of Goldilocks scenario is sort of a soft landing engineered by the Fed and then looking to sort of push on in 2024. Now, obviously, the other big story out of the US is the sort of indictment of ex-President Trump on criminal charges in regard to the classified documents that he took out of the White House. So it's just going to be very interesting to see how that sort of plays through because the judge that is actually sitting over the proceedings there was actually appointed by Trump. Although what will be very interesting is to see the defense that ex-President Trump puts up because, before he's come out and said, he's declassified these documents because just by thinking about it, he could actually declassify them. Obviously, that's not going to stand up in court of law. Oil still hovering around sort of $70 and change. Now in the UK, suffering a bit of a heat wave there at present, some really pretty high temperatures. And again, the UK economy will be looking for some reasonable spending coming out of the summer months as sort of visitors come in and tourists look to spend and give the economy a bit of a boost. And the other big story in the UK is that ex-Prime Minister Johnson is now standing down as a Member of Parliament. Now, some cynics might you say that's sort of a forerunner to the review coming out about his antics during the COVID lockdowns. Now, the EU region technically is in a recession with 2 negative quarters of growth. For the last 2 quarters now, we're both down 0.01. Now, the Australian economy is still getting a reasonable sort of boost from minerals and resources. Iron ore sort of picking up, and with demand looking to increase to coming out of China as well. That all bodes pretty favourably for the Australian economy. But also as well, it's quite interesting, the housing market in Australia as well seems to sort of bottomed and is starting to sort of pick up now in certain areas. Now that is obviously despite the rate increases that have come through from the Reserve Bank of Australia. Although as stated here before, they have been a lot more conservative compared with other central banks. Now here in New Zealand we get the GDP figures very soon, and potentially New Zealand will slip into a technical recession with 2 negative quarters. Retail spending seems to be sort of on the wane. If you look at the actual volume going through, it is down, although monetary amounts sort of holding up okay-ish, but that's really because of the price increases coming through. And really what the New Zealand economy will be hoping for is that a pretty decent sort of winter spending months coming through in the next sort of 2 to 3 months. Because certainly the government's facing sort of increased pressure really. You've still got all the ongoing issues with sort of crime, education and health. Added to which now as well, you're starting to see that their spending isn't really keeping up with the sort of tax receipts coming through. And obviously all the time, the clock is ticking down to that October election. Now, with really just a couple of weeks to go before the end of the month in June, and that will be the end of the year for KiwiSaver. So really need to just check those balances and make sure you contributed enough to get that maximum government contribution. And if not, maybe look at sort of topping it up to get the contribution. Also, as well in the marketplace, Infratel have got a capital raise. The ability to buy some more shares there at 9.20, which again, given the current sort of share price, looks reasonably attractive. So if you are looking for income options, go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz for lots of interesting articles, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.